can only watch it for the first time once. It'll be interesting to see what we catch and what we don't.
Did you ever play the video game Mass Effect?
This is where Babylon 5 is becoming Babylon 5.
That was great. I love that.
100% completely accurate, definitive ranking of Babylon 5.
I love it so much.
We're officially into it, Jeff.
The year is 2025. The name of the podcast, Babylon 5, for the second time.
Welcome to Babylon 5 for the second time. My name is Brent Allen.
And I'm Jeff Akin. Brent and I used to be Star Trek podcasters, but then we watched Babylon 5 for the first time and everything changed. Now, we're watching this incredible series for the second time, paying attention to all the things we didn't know about or catch the first time around.
And you know what? We're still searching for those sci-fi messages that we find in this series. Are we going to find new ones that we didn't catch the first time around? Are we going to jump back into the ones that we saw the first time and double down on those? Who knows? We'll find out in, I don't know, about 45 minutes or so. We're going to be asking certain questions. We've got a litmus test now that we use, Jeff, of how we sort of define this. Is this the complete, exhaustive, definitive? No, but it's a good guide. We look for things that hold up a mirror to society, things that tell us that there can be hope, that there'll be a better future out there. Or we're also looking for things that tell us how to be better human beings to one another.
Another thing we love to do is play games here on our show. And we used to play this really fun prediction game where we guessed what the next episode was going to be about. Well, we kind of know, or at least I kind of remember what the episodes were going to be about. So what we're going to do instead is go back, take our brains to the Wayback Machine, and see if we remember what we thought this episode was going to be about or anything like that. Brent, do you remember what you thought it was going to be?
Oh, I sure do.
Oh, do you?
I sure do. Yeah, so I said I just wanted it to not be somebody sucking a soul out of a person's body. Turns out, Jeff,
we get some of that.
How about you? What'd you say?
I was so far off. I thought that we were going to, and I didn't pull the clip. I love the idea of doing that, but I thought that we were going to learn more about Kosh and his people. I don't know, and maybe they're like a deeply spiritual. Oh, the Vorlon, that's what they're called. But maybe they're a spiritual kind of people, and they go on like some sort of a vision quest as part of their culture. And on all fronts.
No. Does it count that the Vorlon are a spiritual people if they literally are the angels and gods and whatever of societies out there?
Would you call the Goa'uld spiritual or godly people?
Well, but the whole thing is they're posing as the gods.
And the Vorlon aren't.
No, because aren't the Vorlon like saying that
they are them?
Yeah, like the whole premise behind Stargate, and it only upholds as long as the script calls for it, is that humans already had these beliefs in these gods. The Goa'uld just showed up and go, I'm going to be this one now, right? Whereas this one is saying like, no, the Vorlon came in and were like, hey, let's call this one Buddha, like, or whatever. I don't know. So
maybe they just assumed their role. Maybe they are just as Goa'uld as the Goa'uld.
That could be a podcast thing in and of itself, that the Vorlon are just the Goa'uld.
When we get to the end of Stargate and the end of Babylon 5 for the second time, that'll be the thing. We bring them together and ask that big question.
Yeah, I do remember when we were going through the first time and we got to the whole thing about like the Vorlon just losing their ever-loving minds and just going half-calked on everybody. And people were like, yeah, so what do you think of the Vorlons now? They've been doing this all the time. Like, oh, wow, that's... Anyway.
Right. Well, Brent, we get to go see what this episode's actually about right now. At this very moment. What do you say we go watch the episode?
I think we should do that, but Fabio, our good friend Fabio,
I
just have to point out, he says that the great egg is a Vorlon egg.
Spoiler alert, Fabio. Fabio, a member of our council chambers, for those of you on YouTube or are listening on a podcast, our council chambers tier on our Patreon are invited to join us during our recordings. We like to pull some of their comments in from time to time, and Fabio ruining the great egg for me before even seeing it again.
Well, because you're only going to see it the once.
I know. But because, never mind. I was going to go down a path. I won't.
Don't.
Hey, for those of you that didn't catch us talking about this the first time, I strongly recommend that you go back, you find the episode either in the podcast feed or on the YouTube playlist. I recommend you pause this right here. You go over, you consume that first time episode, and then come back. You will enjoy this one a whole lot more. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, you're about to see the edited, kind of cut up reaction video style thing that YouTube does of this episode. And if you're on our Patreon page, or a subscriber to our Patreon, you get to see the full and unedited version of this, which you can see if you visit us at patreon.com/Babylon5 first.
And this is just a warning to everybody out there who has not been through Babylon 5. From this point forward, everything is full spoilers. We could be discussing anything from any episode of Babylon 5 at any point in the timeline. So consider yourself thusly been warned, especially if you have not been through this incredible series yet for the first time. Good news, as Jeff said, we have an entire separate feed for the first watch. So you go join us with that one and catch up with us on this one after you do that one. I want to read this before we go. I'm sorry. I'm going to read this before we go. JMS says this. He says, well, I just saw a cut of this episode that's going to air second. The one that's guest starring Morgan Shepherd. Man, on the question of did you learn anything from the pilot, this thing moves like a sumbitch. It's very unusual and very creepy, and it's filled with lots of character stuff and a good bit of background about our characters rendered in active ways. All of that is true. I'll give it that. I'm really dying to see what people think of this one when it airs. It manages to take what would normally be considered a science fantasy and deal with it from a science fiction perspective without compromising the latter at all. It is a very, very strong episode.
Dear J. Michael Straczynski, Jeff Akin. Well, we'll see what Jeff Akin thinks on a second watch,
we'll
right?
See.
But
we'll see. Let's go. That's Babylon 4. Green is Babylon 4, right?
That's an explorer ship. Full speed ahead.
You need an extra little push to get in the gate.
That's just a little ship. Oh, Asimov.
Oh, the Asimov. There you go.
Commander Sinclair.
Hey, he must be the bad guy.
It's been a while.
Right?
I'm sorry. Did he just walk in going, Commander Sinclair?
He did. Yes, he did.
Where is that Franklin for the rest of the series? I want that guy.
Stephen Franklin from Inglewood. This is Vincent Vega.
Commander Sinclair. That's great. Do you guys notice this stuff on your second watches? Because, woo, boy. All right. Look at Ivanova. She's like, who's this fool?
Medical chief of staff.
A pleasure. I followed your work while I was stationed.
Okay. Nope. Sorry. Look. We talked about it a lot last week with Talia and Ivanova. We know Franklin. You see this right here? He's giving her the eye. Because this is Franklin's eye, and he's like, What we learn in all sci-fi space station series is that when the new doctor comes on board from Go, they're a creep. It's another thing that Deep Space Nine ripped off of Babylon 5.
Yeah, that's the thing. I will totally blame Star Trek for stealing that. Bashir is because of Franklin. No, but listen, this is sexual tension right here, and Ivanova ain't having none of it. Yeah, the tension is he going to assault her or not? Oh, my gosh. You know? Hey, listen, I don't put up with any kind of Dr. Franklin slander. Even early season Dr. Franklin slander. Get ready for it. No more from you, sir. Here we go. Commander Sinclair. This is going to take forever if we keep doing this. Let's go, Jeff.
I followed your work while I was stationed back home. We're honored to have you aboard.
No, thank you.
Why is she following the doctor's work?
Transfer point on Io. He sends his regards.
Frequency silhouette, star drive. Doesn't match anything we've seen before.
How long before it comes out of hyperspace?
Right now.
You know what would be great is if that jump gate actually had speakers on it that made those sounds as it came out.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be so good.
From the council chambers, Ben says, those on the sexual tension drinking game already getting
Commander,
tipsy.
It's on a collision course, heading straight for us.
It's coming right for us.
It's out of control. Oh, it's been
moving
blown up.
So slowly. What can we ever possibly do?
It was the dawn of the third age of
okay, so
mankind.
did Soul Hunter do that to his ship on purpose?
The Babylon Project was a
If I remember right,
Yeah.
they're chasing, like, his people are chasing him down. He's a rogue soul hunter, right? He's murder soul hunter.
Right.
And I think that he got shot or something because, like, part of his little ship thing is kind of blowed up.
Yeah, like, so I know apparently, like, even like the little headscarf behind their heads, people were all like, that's the Ferengi thing. And
ripping everything off. It's so.
Yeah.
We weren't the only ones who came into Babylon 5 with a Star Trek bias. The Lurker's Guide has proven that.
But look, we owned it, and the show was about two Star Trek guys coming over and falling in love with the series. So, like Londo and Jakar, we had to start one way in order to end up the other way.
It's a good thing we ended up loving it. It would be really awkward if we didn't, and we were here doing this
Right.
now.
Right.
If this is a new technology, a new race, I want that ship intact.
This is not a clear and present danger.
intact.
I must read the rulebook again. Open defense grid.
Perhaps I can help identify him.
We'll take all the help we can get.
Jeff, we don't know that anything's up with Delenn outside of just being an ambassador at this point, do we?
Correct.
That's good, right?
For a human, yes. In this case, it may be good. Or he may be hyperventilating before his heart explodes all over the isolab.
I like this part about Franklin.
Silly answer.
He's not like presuming humanity
Doc says it's
onto people.
50-50. Either way, I'd stay on this side of the glass if I were you. Trust me on this.
Stand by. We'll be right back. Are you ready to take your Babylon 5 for the first time experience to the next level? With our exclusive Patreon, you'll get access to all kinds of cool stuff that you can only find there. Our recording notes, unedited reaction videos, an exclusive Discord community. And you can even be listed as a producer of the show. Plus, we even offer exclusive meet and greets and hangouts. You won't find this kind of experience anywhere else. Get all these amazing benefits, plus the opportunity to interact with other fans from around the world. It's being part of a huge community where everyone shares the same appreciation for Babylon 5. Subscribe at patreon.com/Babylon5First. That's the number 5 and the word first to get access to these incredible benefits. That's patreon.com/Babylon5First. We can't wait to see you there. Kill it with fire. Now. Tater tot.
No! What are you doing?
Dude, I'm sorry. How does Garibaldi let her pull his weapon like that?
You have to kill it, Commander.
It. She calls it it.
Not making any sense.
Not him.
Why should we kill him?
He says him.
No, it is Shag Tot. It is a soul hunter. Get it off this station, Commander.
It's probably a good idea.
Or someone dies.
Or we have to listen to him talk. Whichever one comes first is not going to be good for anyone.
You do not know these things as I do.
Then educate.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks,
Mom. She's still referring to it as a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not a.
I've known you almost 2
she's
years.
not assigning any
I've
kind
never
of
seen you react
personhood
so violently before.
or, for lack of a better term, humanity to this thing.
Even as children, I've always taken a particular interest in certain classes of Minbari. You must believe me, Commander.
It's an interesting...
Which class?
Mm-hmm.
Which class?
And you say certain classes, there are, why not say, taking certain interest in 2 of the classes of Minbari.
I still can.
I think she's making a reasonable plea, at this point. I mean, I would have more questions if I were Sinclair, but she's not coming off like, oh, it's just crazy, blah, blah. Like, she has real reasoning behind what she's asking for.
All you got to do is find the little red ball.
Where'd it go?
Okay, place your best. Here we go. 1 red ball, 3 go. Remember? All you should do is go round and round.
Okay, so he's about to sense this dude's death.
Yep.
But is he of sufficient value?
Well, he must, because, he's a shell game guy, And that is the level of gambling we have
It's kind of strange.
Down below.
The place is practically deserted.
All right, here we go. Now remember.
And everyone knows what it is except humanity. Actually, that bothered me, I think, the first time we watched this. But this time I like it because it just shows that, they're still new to the galactic stage.
Round she goes. Where she stops.
I would think that they still would have come across the name Soul Hunter.
Sorry, son, you're a loser again.
And that it would be...
I don't know.
And that it would be like a myth, like something you tell your children to get them to behave and stuff like that. All of the. Oh, there he is. Okay, I ain't lying. That's creepy right there. You know what I mean? Like,
I have been to your world.
So in River of Souls, I remember being like, oh my gosh, come on, dime store Martin Sheen. You're talking like you're a moron. Like, what's going on? I totally forgot this part where like they have that moment of learning the language thing. So that's what I thought was dumb in the movie actually is brilliant continuity. It's kind of impressive this is the only person that's about to die on Babylon 5 right now.
Out of 250,000 people, yeah, you're not right. You're not wrong.
But even this, if this isn't a soul worth capturing, this is driving home to us that they can sense death.
Yep.
Death. It's their threat.
It comes.
Is he hearing?
I like the heartbeat. Yeah.
Jump.
It comes.
You know what? You know something I learned doing Beam Me Up, a Star Trek podcast with my buddy Matt. We discovered a rule in Star Trek that I think is playing out here. And that rule is if you get shot with a phaser, you're pretty much going to live. But if you get stabbed, you are dead.
Even if the blade is this, like 2 inches long.
And it gets stabbed in your stomach. Like, not your heart, not your whatever, not like up into your, diaphragm or anything like that. Just, right in your
One of my biggest beefs in TV and movies is the gut stab.
Yeah.
Did you know on average it takes 72 hours to die from a stab to your stomach? Like that is a slow, painful, horrible death.
I would hope
but
I
on
could
TV,
get to a doctor within 72 hours. Oh yeah, TV, it's you're out.
Yeah.
Gone.
The way he's speaking, like I get it. He's learning the language. He's whatever. But it's just so off-putting as a viewer, But I get it. Like that's the thing, Jeff. Like I get it. It makes sense within the character that they have that JMS has built here, right?
It's the.
I like this part. I like this part a lot.
Who are you? Who wants to admit to being a thief, a stealer of souls?
So it's cool here. Sinclair believes Delenn and is just bringing everything she said.
Thought that might get your attention.
He's just trying to.
For the greater good. Only the special ones. Leaders, thinkers, poets, dreamers, blessed lunatics.
Podcasters? YouTube stars?
What do you do with these souls?
What do you think?
After you've saved them.
We enshrine them, worship them.
Well, this is nonsense. Patent superstition can't be done. With the right technology,
There's the Franklin we know.
Maybe you could encode the personality matrix and produce a clone of someone's mind. But the idea of taking someone's soul...
This is classic Franklin right here. I am superior to you in my knowledge of everything in the world, and no matter what you say, I'm the one who's right.
We have saved only a few, very rare.
Nia starting the Franklin is an ass counter. One so far.
Your war, the pinnacle of Minbari evolution. We came, others. They made a wall of bodies to stop us. He died.
Okay, the writing here, again, you and I, it's very off-putting.
Mm-hmm.
Also completely understandable given the state of this, right? Like completely understandable given the character that is being built.
Yeah, makes
right?
sense.
But it's still off-putting. Can you imagine, though, a lesser actor trying to do this?
Well, we get to see that later a little bit. That's a good question. Like, let's think about this. Because we actually see, I was going to say a better actor, but I don't know if that's true. We see another high caliber actor bring the Soul Hunter thing to reality, in River of Souls.
Yeah.
And in both this and that, it was god awful. It was so bad. Yeah, it's almost if you put in the hands of a lesser actor, it would either just be like so bad, or maybe it'd be so bad it worked. Like I almost think they're trying to actually do it and act it, and that's what's hurting it.
I don't know,
because we're supposed I don't know.
No, but what I'm saying here, the argument I'm making right now, is that Morgan Shepard is acting his tail off here, and actually making this not nearly as bad as it could be.
Trying. I can see he's trying. I don't know though.
I think it'd be so much worse if it was like, imagine Jinxo playing this role. Like, no.
I don't know, man. Because I think that I prefer this Soul Hunter to Martin Sheen.
I agree. I do.
And I think part of it is he's bringing, like, there's an alienness to what he, everything about it. Once Martin Sheen can speak, he just had like this naivete about things.
But don't we get the Soul Hunter at the end of this, the other Soul Hunter who like speaks perfect English with no problem. It was like, yeah, look, this dude's a little jacked up.
That's what I remember.
Like that's what my memory serves. Like, so the need to have these guys talk like this and act like this is, again,
well, I think
I understand it in the context of the character, but it just, I don't know, it's weird.
But I think because we get that at the end of River of Souls also, and I think if I were to write this out as to why that is, it's because they've been listening to our comms this whole time. So by the time the guy comes onto the station, he's had a chance to learn the language. Whereas Murder Soul Hunter is in there passed out listening to Franklin talk about how awesome he is and how much better and smarter he is than anyone else.
All that he was, all that he could ever be, gone.
Lost.
Wasted.
Wow.
It is an interesting thing to think about, right? From what we know right now, just in Babylon 5, not what we learn in River of Souls and how they really actually just segregate the souls out and, isolate them in a really wasteful way. But we now know there's this guy, who is the greatest of the Minbari, and we want him. And if you take what dude just said at face value, he's really trying to like honor this great, like we wanted to preserve this greatness of this race, and they wouldn't let us, and that's such a loss to us and to everyone else. Like I can see his perspective on this a lot more clearly.
I think I felt that in the beginning, in the first time we watched that.
Yeah,
like, these guys truly believe they're doing the right thing. Like this isn't. I'm not just out here collecting for the sake of collecting and destroying everything and grave robbing here. I'm actually here to preserve and keep this alive and take care of this so that it doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they feel like they're the keepers of the zoo.
Exactly.
Preserving the animals.
Well, it's hard to say. This is his natural atmosphere.
They'll go extinct, without us.
It wouldn't be so bad if life didn't take so long to figure out. Seems you just start to get it right, and then it's over.
He ain't right. He ain't wrong about that.
If we lived 200 years, we'd still be human. We'd still make the same mistakes.
You're a pessimist.
A realist.
I'm Russian, Doctor. We understand these things.
I do think, remembering what Franklin says here, right when we start to get it right, it goes away. I want to say that here because I'm going to bring it up later with a thing that if I remember right, I think there's a whole conversation that adds to that later on.
Okay.
So
I will gut it from end to end until I find the souls you have stolen from us.
And what will you do then?
Free them, release them.
You mean kill them?
Join with the souls of all our people. Melt one into another until they are born into the next generation of Minbari. Remove those souls and the whole suffers. We are diminished. Each generation becomes less than the one before.
A quaint lie. Pretty fantasy. The soul ends with death unless we act to preserve it.
So this is the part I was thinking about. So Franklin says that, we just start to figure it out and then we die, and the Minbari might feel the same way. They have a longer lifespan, but they're like, as soon as we start to figure it out, we die. But because it's not, because their thing isn't reincarnation, but it's because it's not individual, it's holistic. We go join the greater, and that adds to everything. And the theory then is each generation builds a little bit on the rest, but they're less because of it. And just really, I don't know, it just gives you pause to think about generational knowledge, and things like that. We become better, smarter, whatever. So oftentimes we don't, but it is hard because our lifetimes end. And, I think through the Minbari belief, they don't end, but they feed it all. I just think that right now we've heard three different kind of interpretations of a soul, with the Soul Hunter where it's everything, right? And once it's free, it's gone. Franklin, they don't exist. This is all hullabaloo and fantasy. And then Delenn, each soul, we get the language later in passing through Gethsemane that the soul is part of the universe, and the soul is just an individualized manifestation of the greater universe as a whole.
But when you steal one of those back, we become less, and we become less. This is the first time that we're getting this idea that something's going on with the Minbari, that they're getting less and less.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of course, we know what this goes on to be. Of course, you and I thought that they were being transferred to the humans.
Yeah, or something.
That's not it, but yeah.
But yeah, because I remember we watched this the first time. One of the things we remarked on was, oh my gosh, apparently souls are a thing. Mm-hmm. But I just like the different perspectives of them.
Yeah. I know one of the things, and I actually really appreciate this with J&S in here is he wasn't trying to define what a soul is. He wasn't trying to say, here's what a soul is. And a lot of people were asking that question, I guess, back in the day. He's like, nope, we're just telling you that they're there. And what is it? Well, I'm not going to answer that question for you. Each race kind of has their own thought on it.
Does River of Souls ruin that? Because we find out, like in River of Souls, if I read it right, the soul hunters are correct. Those are the souls.
I agree. I think those are the souls. I do believe that the soul hunters are, whatever that essence is. Now, also, Jeff, I believe in an eternal soul.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as far as human beings go, I don't think you've ever locked eyes on a mere mortal. We're all eternal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so to me, yeah, those are the souls. I buy it. I get it. I think it's a really interesting question of, are the soul hunters right for doing what they do?
Yeah.
You know, and I think then that just has to go into, well, what happens to the soul after the body dies? He says that after the body dies, the soul dies,
mm-hmm.
unless they act to preserve it. I mean,
but that's what I think, because with River of Souls, we see that they are souls, and we see that they want to be free.
Mm-hmm.
They want to not be trapped. I feel like in a way that answers these, like right now we have this big open-ended question, and it's fascinating and debatable and all the great stuff. And then River of Souls comes in and says, actually, here's the answer.
Except this though, Jeff, go back to the zoo example. Tell me one animal that if you open the cage door and just leave it there long enough, that animal's not going to go off.
Oh, I'm not saying what they're doing is right by any means.
Might not. No, but what I'm saying is what they're doing, is it wrong? Because here's what we know about this. And there's a lot of people who don't like zoos and what zoos do. Fair enough. I don't have a problem with them. But the zoos do provide food. They provide medical care. They provide all
mm-hmm.
sorts of stuff. Safe place for these animals to be, you know, where they're not going to get eaten and they're not going to, zoos in general are a good thing. They help make sure that the population of said animal is maintained and that we don't lose these animals to extinction. The animals don't know better than to not run out the freaking gate and to stay here. Okay, apply that to the soul hunters. Listen, we let those bodies die and those souls go out unless we act to preserve it, and you souls don't understand what we're doing. So we have to do it for you. It's not that different if you look at it from that standpoint. But I guarantee you, every single other leopard out there is like, yo, you got my leopard friend in there. Let's go get him out.
Mm-hmm.
And that leopard friend's like, yeah, let me out. I don't want to be in here. You know? So.
Yeah. Just a lot to think about.
Yeah.
There's a deep debate in the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
You were there at the death of your leader, Dukat.
We stopped you from taking what which you have no right to take.
You stopped me from saving him. That is where it began to go wrong. The lost souls, one after another, voices stilled. I failed because you stopped me.
So he's describing his descent right here.
So one thing, this conversation hits on an entirely different level on the second watch, having seen the Dukat episode. What was that episode?
Oh, that was the
dreaming episode.
The one where they did the dream walk thing.
That one.
Stuff. I think long enough.
We're going to call it dream walking. Dream walking was the name of that episode.
Yeah.
Because that's how bonk we are with these show titles. Having seen that and knowing that, this little conversation is huge.
Yeah.
On the first watch, this little conversation is passing.
Mm-hmm.
We remember, you know what I got wrong here was because I thought he had the soul of Dukat.
Oh, okay.
And what he just said was, you stopped me from getting the soul of Dukat.
We talked about that in the beginning when you and I argued about that. I'm like, no, they stopped him because there was the moment where like, oh, there's soul hunter ships out there. Oh gosh, and that's like the only other mention.
Yeah,
we didn't get to see the part of them, the bodies blocking him from it, and it makes me wonder if that's really how it happened. Because like he clearly has lost his mind through this whole thing, and so did he create this whole other piece? And I don't know, but he lost Dukat's soul, and that's what led to all this.
And he started going nuts. Yeah.
Stuart in the chat. Atonement was this one. Thank you.
They called you Satire Dylan of the Grey Council. Curious.
It's the first time we've heard Grey Council. What does that mean?
One of the great leaders of the Minbari doing here playing ambassador?
Again,
we had that.
On your first watch, that you were there at the death of Dukat, you stopped us. That falls by the wayside. What sticks out to you is your Satire of the Great Council, great Minbari leaders. Like, oh, Dylan is so much more than what she's been saying she is, than just an ambassador.
It was the first time we got the everyone here isn't quite what they seem without having that told to us.
But, you know, to the people who say that, yeah, we missed all that. Well, come on, it was on the screen right in front of you. Yeah, it sure was. You're right.
Yes.
There it is. Just didn't pick up on it.
Wasn't important.
But I tell you what, when we got to it in its home, we're like, oh, we remember that because it was that guy. Like, it's there. It's there. You just got to let it go. But that whole conversation hits different on the second watch here. Did he just bash himself over the head?
I don't know what happened. ISO Lab 1. Med alert.
Isn't this this is the old jailbreak trick, right? Like, I'm gonna pretend to be knocked out, pretend to be hurt. He's gonna reach up and grab his pistol. Yep, there it is. Really? How are you a guard for 10 minutes and not know to be on the lookout for this? In any situation.
Garibaldi hires some down on their luck guys. You know, maybe this guy's not quite as qualified.
Has this guy never seen a Western, a pirate movie, a sci-fi, like anything?
I wonder what's gonna happen to me now.
The more important the person about to die, the more they're drawn to it.
If that's the reason, all we have to do is figure out who's about to die.
I'd almost want Ivanova to be like, all we have to do is find someone important and kill them. Yeah. That's because they're all afraid of him. Yeah. That's okay.
Those guys look like rejects from Star Wars. McGrath!
This is Commander Jeffrey Sinclair of Babylon 5. Please identify yourself.
You know who and what I am.
Okay. They said that this guy is the schmarmy guy in the dock workers.
And if we refuse access...
Oh, really?
There will be more than one.
They'll clear you for docking. We'll link instructions directly to your nav system. If I may ask, who are you here to see?
I am here to see you, Commander.
Because you're going to die.
Before it's too late.
That is ominous, knowing what
Because, see, look, he speaks English, like, perfectly right out the gate. Which is not to say that, like, one guy cannot speak it and another guy could. We have people who speak different languages here. Like, fine. Does that say security? Security!
It does.
Just caught the relay.
It's...
I don't think you should meet this guy.
Security!
I don't like the look of this. I don't like the sound of this. Hell, I don't like anything about it.
Someone is about to die, Commander. And it will be at his hands.
See, this was the problem with the Soul Hunter, was he was killing people before they were ready to die.
Yeah.
Come.
Like, that makes him bad.
I have come for you, Satire Dylan, to save your soul.
He sounds like a missionary.
Right?
Any cost.
He was ordered to preserve the soul of the Minbari leader and others. Each time he was prevented or arrived at the death too late, souls were lost. Our order was disgraced.
Basically, he was an unsatisfactory employee.
He was really bad at his job.
Obsessed with the fear of losing souls.
Len.
Still trying to figure out our way around the station, Jeff.
I just want a map.
You stopped me.
You know, I'm really glad that he doesn't have her, like, in the shape of a cross right now. Like,
failed to preserve your...
I wonder if they did it first and someone's like, nope, bring those arms up.
Knowledge. I will be careful.
Oh, that's good.
You hardly feel it when your body dies.
That thing just looks goofy as hell. It still does. But this is creepy as F, dude. If you can get over that, this...
Yeah.
I mean... Is she giving birth?
Let me go! Let me go!
This feels out of character for Dylan.
Do not
begging.
discomfort your soul.
Artery in the foot.
Fabio, foot fetish counter at 1.
You will feel as if you are falling.
Quickly here.
Chariot?
Here.
Hey, that's a good map of the station. Did we miss that the first time
Totally.
around?
We absolutely did, yes.
Not again.
Dude, I got a PPG too.
You do? Yeah. I have one over in my office.
Oh, right here in my hand. Dude, Wash is so cool, man. These things, I love these.
You're going to get 2 souls today, murdered soul hunter.
Why do you fight for her? She is Satire. I've seen her soul. They're using you.
See, this is why in the chat they're talking about he saw the chrysalis transition and stuff. This is why I think he saw the plan for Sinclair was this right here.
No, I agree with you. It makes total sense now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I never meant you any harm.
See, he can communicate with them. I remember that.
Children.
Oh, it's about to do the final suck.
Is that bringing it out of genitals?
This is awful. This looks so bad.
Yeah.
But if I take it away, right, and just what's going on, what a massively heroic moment for Sinclair.
I mean, so much of this you just have to go, okay, what was their budget? What were they capable of doing? What was Hollywood capable of doing at this time? Like, there's so much of that you've got to give that a pass, but looking at it through modern eyes, you're like...
Dude, looking at it through early 90s eyes, that was...
Commander?
Ron's like, he is a guy.
Amazing. Strong, really. So, I hear you saw something.
You know what he wants to know? What he saw? Did you see that? Did you see the look in his eye? That's locker room time. He turned around. He's like, hey. So, down there.
Huh?
I heard you saw something, huh? Huh?
Huh? Why don't you tell me about it?
Tell us about it. Tell me about it.
Got any pictures? Yeah, huh? Come on, Doc likes the pictures.
Come on. I'm a doctor. I've seen it all anyway, right?
Want to see the pictures I got?
I will take no Franklin slander from you, sir.
You're going to get a lot of it, I'm afraid.
Listen, but that was the look. That was the, huh?
Totally.
Keyword,
I want
sir.
that Sinclair aircraft sign.
Bari language.
It is pretty cool.
Designated keyword.
Okay, remember back when keywords were a thing? Find more about this at AOL.com. Keyword
reference.
Babylon 5.
Satai. Honorific. Title applied to ruling body known as Grey Council.
Known as Grey Council.
A member of the ruling body be assigned to ambassadorial duties. That's like assigning the vice president.
So Sinclair knows her secret.
I guess can wait about 6 more episodes.
See, I thought we met Lemire in this episode.
No.
I thought there was a whole thing where like he and Delenn were like walking down and he calls her Satai and she's like, don't you say that.
That's a thing for a while. Don't say anything about it.
Right, but I thought we first
Delenn lost a lot of blood.
Goodbye, Commander.
Right.
What happened to my brother's collection?
Life's full of mysteries. Consider this one of them.
That's pretty badass, actually.
That's a great line. It really is. She still has the souls.
His little potato sack bag.
So if she breaks the orbs, do they just whoosh? Oh, she is breaking the thing.
Yeah, I like that. What I don't like is that like she's breaking glass with her bare hands. Like, it's not gonna hurt.
Dude, she's a bad mamma jamma.
She's already lost all that blood.
Look at all those glass orbs around her on the floor there, man. She's done a few of these.
And like by doing it with her hands and taking a moment, like she's honoring each individual soul. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Some interesting vocalization choices by Mira Furlan in this episode.
Right.
All right, Brent, we just finished watching Soul Hunter for the very first time. What are your first thoughts on this thing?
Well, I think first thoughts have to compare to original first thoughts. My original first thoughts was, man, what a weird ass episode. And just, ugh. And you could tell this is a first season episode. It's not good. One of the lowest rated episodes of the season. I didn't look up where we ranked it last time. I'll do that here in a few minutes, but it just not good. Was this the bottom episode from the first season? Do you remember?
This or
Infection?
Infection.
Either way, put them both at the bottom. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mind this episode. There were things here and there that were just off. Some of the effects were just not good. The props were very low budget. I think at some point I said this looks like a low budget community theater production.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but so much of what happens throughout the course of the series is first mentioned here.
Exactly.
And is explored here. And there's no way that I can sit back and go, this is a skip episode. Like, there's so much of this that sets up. And we even talked about, like, when we get to the episode Atonement in season 4, we remember this episode.
Yeah.
And so this episode does stick with you, and I respect it for that. Also knowing that this is like one of JMS's pride and joys, I guess, from the first season, and he's very defensive of this episode. I can see why. You know, there's a lot of choices that he makes that make a lot of sense given the characters that he's built.
Yeah.
Right? I still just didn't need it as a viewer. You know, particularly the language thing. Like, I get where you're coming from. I get why you're writing that. It's the Pink Castle, man. It just good on idea. It's the what's that thing from Legend of the Rangers? The war machine room with the girl going.
There you go. Yeah, the weapons room.
The weapons room. It's the weapons room. Like, it's a cool idea on paper, right? And just and they tried it again with Martin Sheen in that other movie, River of Souls, and it didn't work there really well either. No. So, you know, when the second Soul Hunter came in and he's just straight with everybody, like, it's just like, thank God that we're here. Like, you know, anyway. So yeah, I didn't mind this episode. I don't mind this episode. I can watch this one. I was not, what I'm really curious about is you, Jeff, because you hated this episode. You were annoyed by this guy. I'm curious to know, Jeff, were you as annoyed this time as you were last time?
I almost stopped watching Babylon 5 because of this episode. The first time. Yeah. It was awful. And I think I think more highly of it now. It's more watchable. You talk about how it feels very season 1. I think it feels very episode 2 of season 1. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I feel cramped. Yeah. I feel like things aren't figured out. The characters are still a little weird. And then just having this confusing, overacting figure show up in the middle of that so disorienting that I can understand how it took us all the way to Atonement to be able to look back on it, because it's kind of a jumbled mess. But in that jumbled mess, watching it for the second time, my theory is that this episode wasn't meant to answer a single thing. This wasn't even necessarily meant to plant seeds that pay off. The purpose of this episode was to get us asking the right questions. And I think
not a bad thing to do.
Exactly. Well, and especially when you think about, and of course he had a different, overall arc plan for this, but season 1 is kind of a contained story within, the Babylon 5. We work through the Earth, Minbari, and Sinclair and Grey Council stuff, which then allows us to go in and start looking at the greater universe stuff in season 2 with the hints and stuff that come in. So it has us ask those questions. What was it that Delenn planned that he was so freaked out about? What did Sinclair say? Maybe they were right. What were you right about with me? Yeah. What was the thing? Are souls a thing? How do they work? Why is a Grey Council ambassador here, or Grey Council member here as an ambassador? These are the questions that drive so much of the first season. So I can watch it now and appreciate it for that. And I can see how JMS has pride in this episode in the full, kind of composition of season 1 specifically, and then Babylon 5 in the greater. But on its own, this was still like, it was hard to watch. It's just,
I can see, just kind of to your point, knowing what this is doing, this episode is quite brilliant in certain aspects.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Not knowing where that goes, not knowing what that is, being in the dark to that, and just taking this as a 45-minute chunk of an episode, it comes off as a hot mess. So it's a hot mess. It's a hot jumbled, what the heck is this? So I can see where people, when they first aired, JMS is so excited to release this to everybody, but he's looking at it through the complete context of the story, whereas everybody else is like, what the F is this, dude? I can see that. And you and I were in that same place at our first watch, and now we're looking at it, and you and I both say this is a much more watchable episode, because we know where it goes. We know how this fits into the greater world. And you have to go through episodes like this, especially in this sort of a deal where you're building the world. You're going to have episodes like this. Sarah over in the chat says that season 1 of TNG and DS9 had lots of weak episodes. Sarah,
100%.
Season 1 of Voyager and Enterprise and any of those 90s sci-fi shows, Stargate, had them as well. Like, you're gonna have these weak episodes, and I think, Jeff, you and I, and we talked about this a lot, especially early on in the course of the show. We know and understand. We've been around the block for a long time. Early season sci-fi, particularly from the 90s, struggles, and you got to get through it to get to the gold. And Babylon 5 gets through it and gets to the gold a whole hell of a lot faster than pretty much every single one of those other shows.
Absolutely.
Except maybe Stargate.
I'd say for sure except Stargate, but it does really well. Before we jump in, one of the things we're going to talk about here in a second are just things from the Lurkers Guide that we want to get into. But Fabio asks a really important question in the chat here, and he says, "Is this a skippable episode for a first watch?"
I don't think there are any skippable episodes on a first watch.
I agree.
They're all necessary in one form or another. Is it a skippable episode on a second watch? Maybe, if you know where it is. Probably not. Is it skippable on third watches and beyond? Maybe.
Probably. Yeah.
You know. But this definitely should be watched again. I think this whole series is deserving of at least 2 full, complete watches with no skips.
When we think about that scene in Atonement with Ducat, Delenn, and Byron all standing there and knowing that, like, it was basically described right here, that's amazing. That's incredible, and it has to be watched. Yeah. And then to really understand so much of the first season, especially when we get to Battle of the Line and stuff like that, you need this.
Yep.
You need this mystery of, why me? What did you get right? Why were you right about me? You need this.
So, I think of our friend from Buzzsprout.
The guy, the big guy, big shot guy? Yeah, I forget his name.
That you told him to watch Babylon 5. He quit because of these early episodes, and I gave him a list of like 4 or 5 season 1 episodes. Like, okay, watch these and then move on to season 2. And here's the first couple out of season 2 you can skip. And then from whatever episode 11 is. Oh, Coming of Shadows. From Coming of Shadows on, watch every episode.
Every single thing.
Stop. But, and I gave him those. And what I wonder, Jeff, is can you skip those on a first watch? Okay. Get through these pieces, watch the rest of everything, and then come back to these pieces that you've missed so you can now actually, like, are some of these episodes actually a little bit better preserved for after the first time? I wonder. I don't know. We didn't do it that way, so I don't know. It's not going to be
right. And my thought is, you think about, like in his case, the show is on trial. I don't know. Am I going to watch this? Am I not going to watch this? And I think it's acceptable to say, here's your punch list of the things you need to watch.
Yeah.
With the knowledge that we all have, all of us here have, that you're going to watch the couple and you're going to get hooked, and then you're going to want to go see the other pieces.
Yeah. And to Fabio's thing, this was not an episode that I included in my list. I think the episodes I included were Born to the Purple, maybe Midnight on the Firing Line. But it was Born to the Purple, I think Voice in the Wilderness 1 and 2, Babylon Squared, and Chrysalis.
Yeah.
I think those were the ones that I said you have to, off the top of my head, I think those were it. Like, watch these episodes. You can skip everything else. But you'll come back around. Oh, Signs of Importance. You got to watch Signs of Importance.
That's kind of a big deal one, yes.
Yeah, that one's a big deal.
I would like to take a moment and recognize former Council Chambers member who we're going to bid adieu to permanently, as Fabio says that TKO is highly skippable. Your refund will be processed immediately.
It'll take 7 to 10 days to hit your bank account.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned
we have nothing to do with that.
I mentioned it a second ago, but we're in the Lurkers Guide now. We checked this out, and so you and I prepared a little bit and looked at it and wanted to bring a couple things forward that stood out to us. What are some of the things that let's back and forth a little bit? What stood out to you?
Overall, not any one thing particular, but there was this vibe that you got when you read through his comments that he starts with, I'm very excited to see what people think of this episode. I think this is a great episode. I'm very, very high on this episode. And then it came out and people didn't like it. It's very clear. And they had all sorts of criticisms. And he got super defensive. I mean, super defensive.
Yeah.
Especially where everybody's comparing it to Star Trek stuff. Like, oh, you just stole the head thing from the Ferengi. And he's like, he says a line, actually, I thought it was great. He goes, clearly you've been watching too much Star Trek and not enough Discovery Channel. That's actually like an Aborigine thing. It has nothing to do with, they don't own it. Just because you saw it there doesn't mean they own it. Like, stop it. Doesn't mean that's the way it has to be for everybody else out there in the world either. So stop it. Like, he's very, very defensive about a lot of stuff. And you know what? That's kind of what I get.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a kinship to JMS over this.
I do too.
I really do, because, you and I took a lot of flack, particularly in the early seasons, but even a bit later on. But you and I took a lot of flack during our first watch. And I also kind of get a little, you get a little defensive. People are like, well, how do you not understand foreshadowing? It was because I don't know what foreshadowing is right now, because I haven't seen it. Like I kind of get JMS's vibe here. Like I'm like, hey, JMS, high five. Yeah. No issues for me. Give them all the guff, dude. And if Jeff and I deserve any of it, send it our way. We'll take it. That's what I got out of the Lurker's Guide, was JMS gets really defensive over his show here. Mm-hmm. And rightly so.
Yeah. Well, at this point, just like our first time viewing, when the people who joined us knew the whole story, at this point, he knows the whole story.
That's right. So, he couldn't separate. See, and that's the thing. He couldn't separate himself because he was viewing this through the end lens that we're now viewing this through, that everybody else has been viewing this through, that on your first watch through, you're like, what the hell is this? What's going on? Duet and The Visitor are not good episodes.
That's one of my favorite things about Beam Me Up, a Star Trek podcast, is all the pole in the tent Star Trek episodes that your buddy Matt was like, yeah, meh,
yeah,
eh.
What? It's really sacrilege. It's really what clued me into the idea of, my first watch maybe wasn't actually so good either. It's just because I've seen this so many times, and I'm looking at Kira Nerys through the season 7 Kira Nerys lens and the season 7 Dr. Bashir lens, not the season 1 lens. And there's also this phenomenon of groupthink. Everybody in the Star Trek world says these episodes are great, and you look at them and go, actually, yeah, they are pretty amazing. Babylon 5 is no different. We would say something and people, well, you just don't get it, and here's what it is. And it would be almost like a cut and paste in every comment. And then eventually I just started asking, like, hey, when did JMS say this thing? Oh, you said it right here. Okay, cool, I got it. So everybody heard it, and now everybody just adopts that as their own thing. Got it. Yeah. That's what happens. And I don't say everybody. A lot of people. Maybe not everybody. But
these are the episodes everyone thinks are great. These are the ones everyone thinks are bad. We watched Gray 17 is Missing. And people are like, oh, God, this one sucks. And was it a top 5? No. But it was a good episode. I enjoyed it. It was great. TKO is another one where people hate it because, it's cool to hate TKO. You watch it objectively, which we will here in a couple of weeks. It's a great episode. But I will, for mass consumption.
I have a lot of respect for that episode, for how they cut it together and what they do with it.
Exactly.
There's a lot of goofiness in that episode, though.
On the Out of the Lurker's Guide, the Star Trek stuff that he had, I had this kind of like, oh, wow, this is a little bit of a pot and kettle situation. He says, a quote he has there is, we can't constantly be looking over our shoulder, limiting our universe because of another show. If your only frame of reference when it comes to discussing the soul is Star Trek, then that's profoundly disappointing. So when I reframe that a little bit and I say, if your only frame of reference for a TV show about a space station is Babylon 5, then you think people ripped people off, which we already definitively answered that question.
We did,
so we won't go back.
We definitively did it. Anyway, but yeah, that's really what I got out of the Lurker's Guide reading through it. Really was just that JMS was very, very proud of this episode, and apparently highly disappointed when people weren't on it, and very defensive of it. And I can understand it. I am defending JMS on this one.
Well, in that vein, I had one other thing from the Lurker's Guide that, again, I feel a strong kinship with JMS on this. He says, I don't want to spoon feed stuff to people. Yep. What I want is not to hit someone with a moral or a message. This is what a soul is. I want to start discussions, arguments, preferably a bar fight or two. We present an issue. Here are the sides. Now, what do you think about it? I want this show to ask, this is huge, who are you? Where are you going? But what I love about that, Brent, is that is the lifeblood of this show right here. What is it this episode is posing for us? And we have said it so many times. They don't answer it. They just, here's the stuff. Yeah. Figure it out.
And you know what? Maybe you're wrong. Because you and I were like, well, is this what JMS is trying to say versus what are we just kind of drawing out of it? Maybe we're right. Maybe we're wrong. That's okay. That's what JMS, this is what he wanted us talking about. So, Jeff, with that, let's talk about it. What messages did you pull out of this episode this time around of Soul Hunter?
You know, I really didn't find a lot of messages in this one. I talked about it during the reaction itself. I found the question to debate, what is the nature of the soul?
Sure.
Which, if we do the sci-fi thing, right, and take this big alien spacey thing and reflect it back in a real little way to us, to humanity, what defines a soul? What defines our humanity?
Yeah.
What do we leave? What is it that we leave behind? All that stuff. And again, no answer in this whatsoever. Just here's the question. I think it's a great debate to have. Talked about it during the show. Did you find any stuff in this one?
There was a couple things that really stood out to me. I'm not actually sure if we picked up on these the first time around, but I'll talk about it. I've mentioned it several times over the course of this rewatch. When we first see the Soul Hunter and Delenn finds out who he is, Delenn repeatedly calls him it. Get rid of it. Send it away. And Sinclair goes, "You mean him?" And she's like, "No, it." And for lack of a better word, she refuses to grant this guy humanity. She refuses to do that and just insist on him being it. I find that incredibly poignant, and I don't know quite what I think about it yet, But other than to say, because I've said this for so long through Stargate, I said this a lot through Babylon 5 the first time around, and I said this through Stargate. When you strip somebody's humanity away, it's easy to hate them. But when you get to know them, it's not so easy to hate them, even if you don't like them. So there's that one. Two, Soul Hunter. He's talking about the cheater guy, the 3-card Monty dude, balls and cup dude, and how when he dies and he's basically saying dude, this guy could have been so much more. Look at him. He's gone now. A soul, a life wasted. And it's such a shame. I was like, the potential, and here it is. There is a potential in everyone, every soul, to be the type of a soul that a soul hunter wants to come get. And so I think there's a challenge. Be the kind of a person, be the kind of a soul that a soul hunter wants to come after you when you die. You know what I mean? I kind of dig that. Be that kind of person.
Yeah, I think there's a side of that too. Not just be that kind of person, but you have the potential to be that kind of person. It's in all of us.
Yeah.
That's what we do with this time.
It exists in all of us.
Yeah.
We had this discussion during the reaction. If you guys didn't watch the reaction, please go back and watch the reaction or listen to it if you're on the audio side. But you and I had this conversation in the middle of the reaction about how are the soul hunters wrong? They're basically zookeepers. They're doing what zookeepers do. Are zoos right or wrong? Well, that's a whole different debate that we don't have time for in this particular show. But I find that incredible. It's that everybody's not in the same way Bester is the hero of his own story, but the soul hunters are not villains to themselves.
At all. They're not heroes.
They are. And the work that they do is actually really, really important. Think about archaeologists. Another word for them is grave robbers. Well, we don't rob the grave. We take it and send the stuff to a museum, and you get paid for it too. But we take it and send it to a museum because, wait, there's a reason it was buried the first place. Exactly. We didn't bury it for you guys in the future. It's for this guy. Yeah, that's what I pulled out of this one.
Cool.
Now with that, Jeff, we're doing a thing here. Messages are a thing, but the bigger thing, the best thing, is we are creating the 100% completely accurate and definitive ranking of Babylon 5 Season 1 for the second time. Currently, Midnight on the Firing Line is number 1. Jeff, you only got 2 choices. Is it above or below Midnight on the Firing Line?
If I said that I was just going to put it at number 2 without thinking about it, I would be lying. I had in my head, I'm like, this could be number 1. This does have some bigger stuff than Midnight on the Firing Line had, whatever. But Brent, it is going to be number 2. Midnight on the Firing Line just felt like Babylon 5. I think as much table setting that Soul Hunter has done for the series, Midnight on the Firing Line literally told us the whole series on there. So Soul Hunter is going to be our number 2 at this time.
The fact that you even entertained that thought seriously,
I know,
speaks to just how much different your second watch was than your first watch.
Dramatically different. I still don't like it.
Well, Jeff, that's going to do it for us here on Soul Hunter. We get to wrap up this particular one. Next week, we're moving on to the 3rd episode, Born to the Purple. Jeff, what do you remember from your first watch about Born to the Purple?
I remember Gene Simmons and a little hand shock shooter thing and Londo falling in love.
Oh, is this where we meet Lady Adira or whatever it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. What do you remember about it?
I remember Londo up on a table, drunk out of his gourd and falling over. I remember that. Is this the first time we get the statue, the Minbari statue with all the tentacles that we didn't know what those tentacles were?
I think it might be Parliament of Dreams.
Was it? Okay.
I think.
That really is what I remember about this episode. And yeah, the lady, I mean, obviously Lady here is so important to Londo's story. She is the driving force behind Londo. And in many ways, she's the driving force behind Londo's redemption. I'm really eager to watch this because he is truly in love with this girl.
We talked about how this was his like moment of, to be young again, to have that fire, to have that energy. This is the life I could have had, and it all stems from this moment here. I'm excited for this one. I remember liking it a whole bunch. We're going to watch it together right here next week. Once again, thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe, like, rate, review, do all the things. We ask for it every week, and we mean it. The best and most important thing you can do if you want to help us out is to share this show with somebody who loves Babylon 5 or wants to see it for the first time or anything like that whatsoever. So I am going
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah, okay. Hey, yeah, what's up?
Do, re, mi, fa, so, do, re, do, chi, do, la, do,
salsa verde, better than nacho, Dorito, jalapeno, Cheeto.
I mean, we're not some deep space franchise. This station is about something.
I love that ending. I love that ending.
Yeah. We're going to have to get better at figuring out how we're going to end this thing.
We forgot again.
Same thing I got down to, oh God, it's empty again.
Did you see me write that note to you as you were saying it?